Welcome back to the Jacked Racing YouTube channel. Today we are getting the truck on the scales so we can see why it was so out of control at Auburndale a couple of days ago when we tested. But before we get into that, I'm going to show you some clips from last night. We went up to New Smyrna Speedway for their Redeye event, and I had a pretty cool opportunity to do a little bit of guest commentary during the Bomber race. So let's show you some videos of that real quick, and then we'll get into the truck.
Well, we had a friend named Jack Hall, 00 cost him last season. Jack, thanks for coming up, man.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be back in the track. We wanted to race tonight, but when someone brings you an offer to buy the car before the race, you don't turn it down.
I was going to say, Jack, different plans for this season. We were hoping to see you out on the racetrack tonight, but you got on this year.
Yes, the next year we are currently working on putting together a pro truck to race out here. Maybe run a pro truck series in Florida, but we'll always find our way back to this team where it feels like home for us.
Anything stand out for you? The racing was supposed to be bad last season.
No, I think a little bit more efficient than maybe a regular big check at point season. They're essentially pretty heavy hitters out there. I see 22 cars they couldn't find our way to victory lane.
I've got my eye on the silver car, the 81, the showstop at the time, the crash at the end. They were, who the guys that beat that? Probably Martin who came to the track.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the other one to keep their eye on 2017, they
I have to give a big shout out to Ryan, the announcer at New Smyrna Speedway, for letting me come up and talk with him during the race. It was super fun, something I'd always kind of wanted to try. Glad we were able to do that. Hopefully I helped him fill a little bit of space in, but if you like racing, definitely check out his podcast, Racing with Ryan. He talks about a lot of good stuff when it comes to short track racing, sometimes NASCAR, sometimes just whatever comes to his mind, but it's a very entertaining podcast, especially if you like short track racing. So go give him a follow, check it out. All right, we got the truck on the scales here, and it was pretty interesting to see the initial numbers. There was definitely a big explanation why it was so loose at Auburndale. Let me show you the numbers here real quick. So here were the initial numbers that we got when we put the truck on the scales with me in it. I'm gonna let Dad talk a little bit about why this is so bad.
So the important things to look at here, in addition to just the weights on each of the four tires, is the front to rear distribution, the left to right distribution, and something called the cross weight, which is the diagonal from the left rear to the right front. So you can see our total weight is good, 2851 with the driver in the car. The regulations are 2850, so we're spot on. Front to rear, we're 56% front, which means 44% rear. That's not great. We'll look at whether we can move some weight to help that front to rear. And left right now is 56.4. We're allowed 57, so moving some weight will also help that. But the really crucial thing here is the cross weight. That diagonal cross weight from the left rear to the right front. We wanted that to be closer and maybe even above 50%. And we started off at 39.6%. So very clear why we were not handling well at Auburndale. Too much weight on the right rear, not enough on the left rear, and consequently the truck was very loose.
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can really do to help during this whole scaling process. All I can do is pretty much sit in the seat because we need me in the car to get the weight right for when we're on the track. We used to build dummies out of like bags of concrete and sand and weight plates and everything we could for when I wasn't in the car. We got a pretty good idea of how to build a pretend jack to put in the car, but since we're both here, we'll use the real one for now. Unfortunately, Dad just has to go around and mess with the bolts. Also, if anyone has any good recommendations on a Lexan cleaning solution, let me know. I've heard a couple of different things, but let me know what you've tried that works, because I need to give this windshield a good clean. Now that we've got the cross weight and stuff where we want it, we're gonna kind of take some measurements here to help us remember where to set it at, because this is actually gonna be the quarter-mile track setup. When we go to put the setup in for New Smyrna, we're gonna have to put a lot stiffer springs and stuff on, and that's gonna mess all this up. So we're gonna get this all jotted down while we got the quarter-mile setup on, and then we can start putting parts in to take it to New Smyrna and then get that all set up from there. So I'm back in the seat again. We're trying to figure out how much one turn on a jack bolt affects the cross weight. So if we're at the track, we'll know how many turns to put on the screw bolts while we're trying to make adjustments. So Dad's going around putting a turn on each one, and then we can look at the scales and see just exactly what, you know, the change is in weights on all the tires, which we can then figure out what percentage that adds to the cross weight. So it's going to make adjusting at the track a lot easier. We'll have an idea of what we need to do when we don't have the scales. Mostly this will just be for quick stuff at the track. So we're doing the same thing we just did with the jack bolts, except for now we're doing it with air pressure, because you can change the way the car handles a lot with air pressure at the track. So if we can figure out what the difference is between putting a couple of pounds of air in the tire versus a couple of rounds on one of the jack bolts, we'll have a good idea what to do at the track to make the setup changes we need to make. Something else we just realized is that weight that I showed you at the beginning was actually when we brought the truck home. That wasn't even when we started. So those first couple of sessions when I spun out, that was before we even did all that cranking on the jack bolts at the track. So it was even worse than that. It's no wonder I spun out. The cross weight was probably like 36%, something like that, with the really, really wonky distribution from the right front to the left front. It was bad. It totally makes sense why the truck wanted to just go backwards on me every time I went in and out of a turn. So I'm glad we got this figured out. It's going to make a huge difference. Hopefully I'll be a little less likely to go backwards. This still might happen at some point, but at least it'll be for reasons of me trying to push the truck a little harder rather than it just being completely off setup wise. I'm going to put this disclaimer out there that the setup that we showed you at the beginning was not what the original owner that we bought the truck from had on it. We tore everything apart. We took weights out. That was not what they had in the truck. So this was nothing they did. It was all stuff we did, and we knew it was going to be off. We just didn't have the scales or the time to get it right. We just wanted to get that track time and shake the truck down. So we've got it pretty much set where we want to now. Now we're just kind of waiting on parts. We need some different springs for the front end to run new Smyrna. We need a different gear and different tires. We think we have some gears and tires figured out. Probably go pick some of those up this week, and then we can start putting those in. Springs, I'll probably have to go hunting for some springs too, but it's nothing we can't figure out. We got about a month to get this all sorted out, so we've got plenty of time. I'll get it all figured out. Next, I think, is going to be paint. I'm going to come back up in a couple of days. We're going to get rid of all of that red and make the whole thing black. I'm going to order my numbers and get it looking right, and we'll see what it's going to look like through the year. We might put some more designs on too. I haven't fully decided yet, but we're going to get it all the right color and then get some numbers on it so we can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like, and then I'll put some designs on from there. All right, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you back here in a couple days, and we'll watch this thing change colors.